Ahoy there, mateys! Welcome to the Pirates vs. Werewolves podcast, where we plunder the treasures of flash fiction. And today, we're setting sail for an action-packed pirate raid, a real blockbuster of a deep dive into two wildly different but totally captivating stories that you, our amazing listeners, have shared with us.
It's always a thrill to see what gems you unearth from the vast ocean of flash fiction.
Right. So get ready for a journey that's part swashbuckling adventure, part bedtime story, as we unravel the mysteries and magic woven into these tales.
Sounds like an exciting voyage ahead.
First up, we're heading to revolutionary Paris, a city already brimming with secrets and shadows, for a story called The Wolves of Paris. But this time, the revolution isn't just about liberty, equality, and fraternity for humans. There's a hidden struggle brewing, a fight for freedom for a pack of werewolves who find themselves caught between the tyranny of the old regime and the suspicion of the new.
So we're diving into a historical fantasy with a twist.
Precisely. And leading the charge, unexpectedly, is Jean Valjean, the iconic hero from Les Miserables. But instead of just protecting Cosette, he's taking on a new role as a strategist for this secret pack of werewolves.
Intriguing. It makes you wonder how Valjean's past experiences as an outcast might have shaped his empathy for those deemed monsters by society.
Exactly. And that's one of the big questions we'll be grappling with today. What does the story tell us about prejudice? And how can past injustices inform our understanding of new conflicts?
A timely question indeed, given the ongoing struggles for equality and recognition in our own world.
Then we're charting a course to a completely different realm, a world called Lunara, for a story called Lunar Legends. Picture this: a shy bookworm named Sarah, who'd rather spend her days lost in adventures within the pages of books than face the real world.
I think many of us can relate to that feeling.
Totally. But Sarah's world is about to be turned upside down. She's suddenly pulled through a magical portal and finds herself in Lunara, where werewolves are at war, and guess what? She's prophesied to be their savior.
So the classic chosen one trope, but with the bookworm as the hero. That's a fresh take.
Exactly. But forget about Sarah wielding swords and sorcery. Her power lies in her knowledge of stories. We'll see how her love for narratives transforms her into a leader, a strategist, and even a weapon.
It makes you think about the power of stories to shape our understanding of the world and inspire us to act.
Absolutely. So our mission today, dear listeners, is to navigate these two distinct narratives, plunder their depths for the most compelling details and surprising connections. We're going to pull out the hidden gems and uncover the thought-provoking messages buried within these tales, ready to set sail.
All right, Captain, let's embark on this pirate raid.
All right, first up. Revolutionary Paris. Let's picture it. The year is 1789, and the cobblestone streets are echoing with the cries of Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. But The Wolves of Paris takes you beneath the surface of this historical upheaval, into the dimly lit alleys and shadowy corners where a different kind of revolution is brewing.
Right from the beginning, the story sets this tone of hidden struggles with the line. Paris, a city of lights, but also of shadows deeper than any prison yard. It's this sense of something lurking beneath the surface that immediately grabs your attention.
Totally. And amidst this chaotic backdrop, we find Jean Valjean. He's a man who knows injustice firsthand, a former convict seeking redemption. But now his primary concern is protecting Cosette, his adopted daughter, from the turmoil engulfing the city.
And it's his own experience as an outcast, as someone who's been judged and condemned by society, that I think allows him to see the injustice faced by the werewolves, even though they're so different from him.
Absolutely. So picture the scene. Valjean and Cosette are walking through a dark alley when suddenly there's a deafening explosion. Smoke and debris fill the air, and as it clears, they witness something shocking. A massive wolf standing on two legs, cornered by a mob of revolutionaries, torches blazing.
It's a stark juxtaposition. The symbol of revolution, the torch, now being used to threaten and intimidate another group fighting for their own kind of freedom.
Right. The mob is shouting, "Monster!" They're terrified, and their fear quickly turns into aggression. But then a young woman bravely steps forward, trying to shield the wolf with her own body.
And this is where we're introduced to the werewolves. This courageous woman is Eponine, and the wolf is her brother. They represent a small pack of werewolves who've been persecuted for centuries, hunted, and ostracized.
They saw the revolution as a chance for a new beginning, a hope for acceptance. But as Eponine explains, their hopes were dashed. "We thought the revolution would bring change," she says. "But they fear us, they hate us just as the monarchy did." It's a heartbreaking realization.
This betrayal of their hopes adds a layer of complexity to the whole idea of revolution. It makes you think about who benefits from these upheavals and who often gets left behind.
Right. The revolution might have been about freedom, but it was really only freedom for some.
And that's where Valjean comes in, right?
Yeah.
He witnesses this scene, and he's reminded of his own past, his own struggles against a system that branded him a criminal, an outsider.
Exactly. The story says, branded a criminal, the world had cast him as a perpetual outsider. He would not see such injustice repeated, even if the victims were werewolves. It's a powerful moment of recognition for him.
It's not just about doing the right thing, it's about understanding the pain of being othered, of being feared and rejected for who you are. That's what drives Valjean to act.
And he acts in a way that's both unexpected and incredibly strategic. He doesn't just fight alongside the werewolves, he becomes their strategist. He uses his knowledge of the city's underbelly, its secret passages and hidden tunnels, to help them evade, capture, and plan their defense.
And Cosette plays a role too, right? She becomes their messenger, using her innocence and small size to move undetected through the city, delivering vital information.
Yeah, she's like this tiny, unassuming, but incredibly brave linchpin in their whole operation. And together, humans and werewolves, they start building barricades, preparing to defend their vision of freedom.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? Werewolf claws and human hands working side by side, united under that shared banner of Liberté, Égalité. It expands the meaning of the revolution, making it about inclusion, about recognizing the rights of all beings, regardless of their form.
Yeah, it's like a visual representation of the idea that true revolution requires embracing difference. But then there's this really dramatic turning point in the story. A royalist attack on the barricades, chaos everywhere, and in the midst of the fighting, Valjean sees Marius, Cosette's beloved, in danger.
Oh, talk about high stakes.
Right. And in that moment of desperation, fueled by protective rage, Valjean, he transforms. The story describes it as a blur, a sudden shift in the swirling smoke of battle. One minute he's a man, the next a towering werewolf, teeth bared, ready to defend those he cares about.
That transformation scene is so symbolic. It's like Valjean embracing the part of himself that society fears, the part that's been labeled monstrous.
Right, and it raises all these questions about what it means to be human, what it means to be a monster. But the thing is, no one is quite sure what they saw. Some spread rumors of a werewolf fighting alongside the revolutionaries. Others dismiss it as battlefield hysteria.
That ambiguity is crucial. It allows the fear and prejudice against the werewolves to fester, even as their role in defending the revolution becomes more significant.
Yeah, the city is divided. Some see the werewolves as heroes, others as a threat. And that division ultimately leads to the final, tragic confrontation. The royalist forces launch a full-scale siege on the barricades, and the werewolves, led by Valjean, fight with incredible ferocity.
But it comes at a cost, right?
A terrible cost. Eponine, the brave young woman who defended her brother, she falls in the battle. It's a moment of both triumph and despair.
Her sacrifice really underscores the fragility of hope, the idea that even in the midst of a fight for freedom, prejudice and fear can still claim innocent lives.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that revolutions are never clean, they're messy, and often heartbreaking. But the story doesn't end in complete darkness. In the aftermath of the battle, they bury the fallen, both human and werewolf, side by side.
A powerful symbol of unity and shared sacrifice.
Right. And Valjean, in a moving act of commitment, dedicates himself to protecting Eponine's orphan pups, who are secretly growing stronger beneath the city. It's a glimmer of hope for the future, for a time when maybe werewolves won't have to hide, won't have to fight for acceptance.
It suggests that true change might happen gradually, through small acts of courage and compassion, even when the larger battles seem lost.
Yeah, it's a reminder that hope can endure, even in the darkest of times. And the story ends with this powerful line about Valjean. Now, he stood alongside those far more monstrous in the eyes of the powerful, and that felt closer to true redemption than anything his years as an outcast ever could.
Wow, what a powerful statement about challenging societal norms, about finding redemption not through conformity but through standing with those who are marginalized and demonized.
It really makes you think about who we label as monsters and why. Okay, ready to shift gears entirely now.
Let's journey to Linara.
All right, strap in, because we're about to enter a world of books, prophecies, and werewolves, but not the kind we just encountered. This time, it's all about a shy bookworm named Sarah who finds herself at the center of an epic fantasy adventure.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this, Sarah.
Well, imagine a young woman who feels more comfortable surrounded by books than by people. She works at a small town library, and for her, rainy days are the best because it means more people stay home and she can lose herself in the stories on the shelves.
Ah, so she's one of those readers who'd rather visit Middle-earth than go to a party.
Exactly. But Sarah's quiet life is about to change drastically. Picture this. She's alone in the library, it's pouring rain outside, and suddenly the power goes out, plunging the building into darkness.
Uh-oh, that sounds ominous.
It is. As Sarah fumbles for a flashlight, she notices something strange on one of the shelves, a book that wasn't there before. It has a glowing silver cover embossed with ancient symbols, and as she touches it, she feels a searing jolt run through her body.
Okay, that's definitely not your average library book.
Definitely not. And before she can even process what's happening, the world around her dissolves, and she finds herself standing in a dense, moonlit forest. But not just any forest. It's Lunara, a world illuminated by two moons, a place where magic is real and werewolves roam.
So the book was a portal. Classic portal fantasy move, but always a fun one.
Totally. But there's no time for Sarah to adjust to her new surroundings because almost immediately she's attacked by a werewolf. It lunges at her, fangs bared. But before it can reach her, a young archer appears out of nowhere and drives a gleaming silver sword into the creature's chest.
Talk about a close call.
Right. And then the archer turns to Sarah, eyes wide with amazement, and says, "The prophecy. It must be you." Sarah is, understandably, completely bewildered.
Who wouldn't be? One minute you're shelving books, the next you're in a magical world with werewolves and prophecies.
Exactly. But before Sarah can even ask what's going on, another werewolf attacks. Instinctively, she raises the sword the archer gave her, and as she does, the blade bursts into flames, a blinding white light that drives back the creature.
Whoa, so the sword is magical, and it responds to Sarah specifically.
Exactly. The archer cries out, "She is the one, the Silverflame wielder." It seems Sarah is not just some random visitor to Lunara. She's a prophesied hero, destined to save this world.
Talk about pressure.
Right. But Sarah is not your typical hero. She's not a warrior. She's not magically gifted. As the battle continues, she finds herself relying on something unexpected, her knowledge of stories.
Intriguing. How does that work?
Well, as she's fighting, she keeps having these flashes of memory scenes from epic battles, heroic deeds, clever strategies, all from the countless books she's read.
So it's like her love of reading has become a kind of mental arsenal, giving her access to a whole range of tactical knowledge and inspiration.
Exactly. She might not be a seasoned warrior, but she's a master of narrative, and that turns out to be a surprisingly effective weapon in this world.
It's like the stories have prepared her for this moment, even if she didn't realize it.
Right. And it's not just about fighting. Sarah uses her knowledge of mythology and folklore to outsmart the werewolves, to understand their weaknesses, their motivations.
So she's fighting on multiple levels: physical, mental, even psychological.
Exactly. And it's this unique combination of book smarts and narrative cunning that makes her such a compelling hero. She's not just fulfilling a prophecy, she's actively shaping it, using her intellect and imagination to forge her own path.
It's a powerful message about the value of knowledge, the power of stories, to help us navigate even the most challenging situations.
Absolutely. So, with Sarah's help, the battle is won, the immediate threat is over. But the war is far from over. Lunara is still teetering on the brink of destruction, and everyone is looking to Sarah, this unassuming bookworm, to save them.
No pressure, right?
Right. And here's the interesting thing. The flash fiction story makes this point that prophecies, no matter how powerful, are only as strong as the belief people put in them.
So it's not just about fate, it's about choice. About people choosing to believe in Sarah, choosing to follow her.
Exactly. And Sarah understands this. She realizes that if she wants to save Lunara, she needs to inspire people. She needs to make them believe in the prophecy, in her.
And how does she do that? Through more stories.
You guessed it. She starts sharing tales of courage, of resilience, of ordinary people overcoming impossible odds, all stories she's absorbed from her years of reading. And as she shares these narratives, something amazing happens. The humans and werewolves who were initially wary of her, they start to listen, they start to believe.
The power of storytelling. Once again, it's not just about entertainment, it's about building connections, inspiring hope, fostering a sense of shared purpose.
Exactly. Sarah, the shy bookworm who always preferred the company of fictional heroes, she becomes the hero of her own story. And in the process, she inspires a whole world to fight for its survival.
What a fantastic transformation.
Right. The story ends with this line that I just love. She had never been good at living her own story. But this one, this wild, dangerous, werewolf-filled epic, this was one she was going to write herself.
It's a beautiful statement about taking ownership of your destiny, even when it throws you into a world of werewolves and prophecies.
So there you have it, two wildly different but equally captivating stories. In one, we explored the complexities of revolution and prejudice through the lens of historical fantasy. In the other, we witnessed the power of stories to transform a shy bookworm into a world-saving hero.
Both stories remind us that courage and strength can be found in unexpected places, whether as a former convict standing up for the rights of werewolves or a bookworm wielding the power of narratives to inspire hope.
What incredible journeys we've taken in this single pirate raid, but the adventure doesn't have to end here.
Right. We encourage all you listeners out there to think about these stories, to let them spark your own imaginations.
Exactly. What does the Wolves of Paris make you think about the hidden battles being fought in our world today? Whose voices are being silenced? Whose stories are being overlooked? And what about Sarah's journey in lunar legends? How can you tap into the power of stories in your own life? What narratives have shaped you, and what stories do you want to write for yourself?
Those are some great questions to ponder.
Right. So keep exploring, keep reading, keep sharing those amazing stories. And don't forget to rate and follow the Pirates vs. Werewolves podcast for more thrilling pirate raids into the world of flash fiction. Welcome to this weekly show where we cover one or two wild tales and fantastic stories from the world of flash fiction in a fun, entertaining way, just like blockbuster action films or bestsellers. Rate and follow the show for more captivating stories from the Pirates vs. Werewolves podcast.